Yo, what's up guys, it's Lost Griff. I'm back with another video today. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the gear audit because I would like to give a quick shout out to my friend Polymorph Bandit. I'm not sure if he made this Google Doc in specific, but he sent it to me, he reached out to me, gave me that info, and I figured that it's only fitting that I actually give a follow-up to this video because I feel like it does make a good counter-argument what this Google Doc contains and informs me of. But I do still want to speak on it because I feel like there is still a little bit of flaws with it. I do feel like there still is some differences that kind of like make the offensive versus defensive school debate, you know, a lot more on the defensive school side. So I just want to talk about that today because I feel like there's a lot of, you know, people out there that, you know, still want to see Merciless gear go in the right direction. I feel like I hope you would take my words with a grain of salt and also feel like you can fully criticize them. And if it's not able to be criticized, then that's how you know there's a problem. So I just wanted to put that out there, that I try to follow like the idea of just criticizing my own ideals before I criticize other people's. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm objectively right all the time. So just wanted to put that out there real quick. And one thing that I've heard real quick before I start about dual schooling in terms of like the dual school stats is that they gave it to us for free. It was not like a thing that they're forcing us into. Rapbeard said specifically on Liam's video that he wants, you know, dual schooling to be like an option and you don't have to give up stats for it. That was kind of their thing, is they're not forcing it. They're saying like, hey, here's 6 pierce for myth, or sorry, here's like 4 pierce for myth, here's 20 damage for, or 10 damage or whatever for myth. So if you're a fire and you want to go to the myth side and use this spell or this spell, then there you go. So that's kind of what they were doing. So they weren't really going for like an offensive, you know what I mean? Like you don't have to give up stats for it. So I guess that's what they were doing with it. So we come to the main problem, and this is the main problem I mentioned in the other Merciless video. These Storm and Fire still lose accuracy. And while you might think, and this Google Doc specifically actually says an argument to it, right? They say, to add to the Storm's quote, to add to the Storm's fizzle chance debate, they can just swap out Breaker on their pet for accuracy and still have more Pierce than Death at 46. Even though that still does not hit the quite the perfect accuracy for Shadow and Lore spells, it's still only a 2% chance to fizzle, and at that point, besides that, you can easily rely on Storm Owl and Triton for finisher instead of Rusalka. Doesn't even mention the fact that Galvanic Field gives accuracy. Get one of those out, and you'll be more than safe. There's a problem with that, though, and it's a problem with other stats as well on the Merciless gear, is that if you swap out Breaker, you automatically lose the trades that you are already struggling to win, right? Because let's just do the math here, right? Let's just do the math, top down. Storm's at 154 damage, 8.2k HP, 43 resist, 27 accuracy, etc., etc., and then we go down to Pierce, it's 49, and then Pip Chance is 99, right? So we compare all these stats, right? Technically, if Death is hitting into Storm, they actually already pierce through all of their resist. And you want to know which school doesn't? Storm. Storm does not pierce all of Death's resist. And same deal with Balance, which has quite similar stats. Whenever I'm talking about Death, also consider the fact that I'm probably talking about Balance as well, or more over Balance, simply because Balance just genuinely has such broken stats right now, and spells, so I'm mostly talking about Balance more than Death, but Death is a good benchmark for, you know, where offensive school should actually be stat-wise, in my opinion, right? So, Death, you know, can hit into a Storm, technically, with Merciless gear, and pierce through all of their resist, because they have 44 pierce, while Storm will hit into a Death's resist and still have 3% more resist to hit through, which through a set shield makes a big difference, right? So inherently, as a school who's with low resist like that, you're kind of forced into using Motorist Robe, because if somebody's piercing through all of your resist whenever they're hitting in such a high damage, high crit meta, you're gonna get one shot. You know what I mean? So from my perspective, not only does it make it worse and lower it to 46 pierce if you're trying to run full accuracy with Merciless gear, but you're also just losing other stats as well. And you might think, oh, well, Griffin, think about the fact that they have 154 damage. Well, also think about the Intersect. With the Intersect, that means nothing. I pretty much have the same damage as Death, because Death will have like 141 or something like that. Yeah, they'll have like 141 or 142 with that, and then they'll have like, and then Storm will have like 147 or 148 or something like that. I guarantee you could go to a calculator and figure that out. But it's like a 7% damage difference, and then then Storm gets way less health, way less resist. You know what I mean? And it just feels like you're automatically losing the trade that you're supposed to win. It's not just damage per pip that, like, it's not just damage per pip that we're supposed to have an innate advantage on. One thing people to talk about is that damage per pip is intentionally designed because of the health disparity that's already there. It has nothing to do with damage resist and pierce. Health and damage per pip is directly correlated and has nothing to do with damage resist or pierce. Let me say that again. Health and damage per pip have everything to do with each other, while damage resist and pierce have nothing to do with each other. That's what I've always believed, is because Storm has, like, you know, 8.2k with Merciless gear. Death has 10k, right? So how do they make up for this? They make up for it with a damage per pip versus each other. And that automatically makes up for each other in itself. That's what I've always believed. And so damage resist and pierce are supposed to all play off each other in a fair and balanced way. For example, like, I think maybe balance, if you look back at it, if you do a whole stat rework, listen, this shouldn't be an individual nerf. This should be a whole, you know, overlook and stuff like that. This should be them all changing each other and directly correlating, because, for example, if I'm a balance hitting into a fire, they should have 6 resist while I hit into them, and I should have 6 resist while they hit into me. So, for example, if you look at these stats right now, realistically, in a perfect world, every school should play into each other with a pretty similar pierce and damage, you know, disparity. So, for example, if I'm balanced hitting into a fire, I should have, you know, let's say 41 pierce, and then they should have 46 pierce, so that, wow, you know what? 6% pierce, both hit through each other. That's fair. That's how it should work. And then fire should have a tiny bit more damage, and that automatically makes up for the damage or damage and the health per pip difference. You know what I mean? Because it's a 1.3k health difference that already has, you know, all those defensive advantages on top of the fact that they're missing accuracy and everything. They might as well have the same pierce disparity. I don't understand how that's so hard to understand for some people, because I feel like that's the point I've been trying to make and convey, is like, they should all be hitting into each other with equal pierce and resist. And that does not mean, let me make this perfectly clear, that does not mean that fire should have 55 resist, 150 damage, 46 pierce. No, like, they should still have low resist, and I don't even mind where the resist is right now for fire, as long as every single school that's supposed to be in the defensive category gets their resist tuned a little bit up, schools get their pierce and damage tuned a little bit up, and everything like that. And pierce and resist actually play into each other fairly. Because no school should be hitting into my resist and getting no, like, you know, punishment, while I hit into their resist and I hit into 9 extra resist because of my low ass pierce. It's like they don't play into each other correctly. And also, not to mention, this damage per pip thing is already kind of solved on several schools by their utility. For example, you are pretty much always have a weakness you're hitting through if you're playing against a death. If you're playing against a death, you're hitting through weaknesses all the time, therefore innately fixing that problem. If you're a balance, you're never hitting with if you're against a balance, you're never hitting with an aura up. You're never able to get an overtime on them to set up those high damage hits. You're rarely able to set up a bunch of blades and traps to get that damage. So it doesn't matter. Those damage gambits and leverages you already have don't even work in the first place, because their damage per pip is already designed to be outplayed by their own utility. Right? So, also, like I said earlier, pip and accuracy situations, those rough pip and accuracy situations, you know, they don't have to sacrifice any stats. They can ward to their weak school. For example, if a balance in a certain meta doesn't feel like they're doing good against a certain school, they don't need sniper. They'll just, you know, suck it on whatever ward they need to counteract a certain matchup. It's that simple. And what do they lose? Mighty? Wow, sure, they lose 2 resist, 1 damage. To pretty much automatically win to the most popular school. For example, if a death is 30% of the queue, and you're already 50% win rate against them, Make it a 70-80% win rate. Just ward against them for 2 extra resist. That's all you have to lose, and you probably won't see much of a difference. This is the point I've been trying to make, is that we're sacrificing all these stats right now, but the pierce and damage don't play into each other correctly. Damage per pip is already kind of made up for in the form of health, and also utility on certain schools. That's what I've been trying to say. So I hope you guys can kind of understand where I'm coming from. Is that I see it this way. I feel like stats aren't working correctly. I still feel like no matter how they line up against each other, if you look at the pierce and resist disparity, not only does pierce and resist not work properly, and is that the form of or that's like the center of the problem, is that they don't work properly and they aren't, tailored in a fair way. So I just kind of want to talk about that, guys. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. And like I said earlier, criticize me, say your own comments on it, say your own experience with it. If you consider yourself a better PvPer maybe than I am, maybe if you have your own experience in trades, or losing trades or winning trades in these certain specific scenarios, let me know what you guys think. So I just want to hear what you guys think, what you guys have to say about this. Let's just finally come up with a conclusion so I can actually listen to us, because we actually have to finish this inward talking and understand what the fix is before we fix it. So let's just, calmly, figure out what we can do to fix this problem. And I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
Bye.